What's going on, y'all? Drunken Dragon, Joshua, Jay back at it again. And today, guys, I'm doing my very first game review of the game, none other than Bleak Faith Forsaken. You can kind of see behind me. I'm on the title menu of the game. Part of this review will have me going into the game, talk about different aspects of it, things I like, things I don't like, all that sort of stuff, guys. But just a little bit of background on this game. Not much. I didn't do a hefty amount of research, but I heard that this game was developed by only 3 people, right? And I saw it in the PlayStation Store. It looked pretty cool. It had some good reviews. I'm like, you know what, guys? I want to support this game that had a development team of just 3 people. You don't see that too often. When you do, it's a rare thing, and I like supporting. I like supporting that, because you have all these major studios with these like major like layoffs and stuff like that. And I don't know. Part of me is kind of thinking like smaller studios is kind of the future. Let me say, guys, like what these people have accomplished in this game, just 3 of them, is it lets you know like how much you can do with a small team. You don't always need like a studio with hundreds of people to make just a good game. You know what I mean? I guess that's kind of getting a little ahead of myself. But yeah, guys. So with that, let's talk about Bleak Faith Forsaken. All right. So off top, my time with this game was good. I enjoyed this game. It was a surprise sort of hit for me. I first bought it. I don't know why, but when you have that sort of like, you buy that thing and then it's like, I might regret this. Like, was it worth it? I kind of had that feeling at first. Kind of like upon booting up the game, not necessarily because of anything the game did, just that sort of feeling. It was $35 US dollars at the time I bought it because it was brand new on PlayStation 5. My understanding has been on PC for about a year or so. But so I bought it, kind of had that fear. I started playing the game, guys, and one thing you do need to know about this game is that there's a decent amount of jank in the game, right? Don't get me wrong, this is a finished game, but there is some jank. I wouldn't say there's too many like major bugs or anything, just some like visual things here and there. But yeah, sometimes when you're running, it's kind of hard to get over like terrain and stuff like that. Sometimes the timing of the combat feels not too intuitive at first, at least. Eventually, I became very in tune with it. But at first, guys, I would say that that's where most of the jank feels like it appeared for me. There's still jank, throughout the game, but to me, I think it felt at its worst at the beginning. I mean, like literally the first like hour or two, right, which was not even close to the majority of my playtime in this game. With that, after that first hour or two, my enjoyment of the game went up significantly. But even within that, like, I guess some of the things that I'm talking about specifically, sometimes the game just didn't give you information that you needed. I wasn't told how to swap my weapons. If I had a weapon in my first slot and a weapon in my like other sort of build slot, it didn't tell you how to do that. So I had to just keep pressing buttons until I figured it out. It's hold square if you haven't figured that out. Little hint for you guys. But yeah, so little things like that it wouldn't tell you, but it would also tell you a lot of other things. I like that when you go into the menu. Oh, my light done went off. That's okay. When you go into the menu, right, it would give you tons of information on the menu. In fact, let me change up my setup real quick. Let's see. Let's go to here. Bam. And let's dive in here. This is gonna be an interactive review because I feel like it'll be best to do that. Some spoilers, not really so much as far as story, but if you don't want to know like how many levels are in the game or things like that, I guess there's light spoilers in that sense. But if you don't really care about like stats and things like that, then you don't really have to worry about it. All right. So with that, let's go into the menu. And one thing that I liked is if I go to this character tab, you can see in the center here, there's all kinds of words, right? Strength. What does strength do? It increases your damage and all that sort of stuff. Health, it has information on that. All these stats and things automatically have that information there. You press triangle to get rid of it. I like that because sometimes in Souls games, it's hard to find out what something does, or it's just not that intuitive. I think just as far as like even just this being like a drop down menu, I'm not drop down menu, but just a linear menu. Like you don't have to go like left and right. Oh, I guess you can though. To go to the perks, but either way, I can go to all of these things, and it'll tell you not only what they are, but for example, my stamina recovery. So once you spend up your stamina, how long it takes for your stamina to come back. It will actually tell me what's affecting it. So my agility stat affects it, makes it so that I can recover faster. Also, my encumbrance lowers the speed of it, right? I think that's really cool, right? So there is a lot of attention to detail. They do give you a lot of information, but there are some noticeable holes in the information this game provides, right? Like I said, like switching the weapons. Sometimes you go to do something and it's not very intuitive. Like when you go to a ladder, for some ladders, when you're at the top or the bottom, you can hold triangle, right? And you can just appear at the bottom of the ladder. I guess it's a way to save time, but you can't do that for every ladder. So it'll tell you, oh, you can't do it for this ladder, or you have to like travel up or down the ladder first before you can do it. It's kind of hard to tell when you would do that. These are just some specific examples of jank, guys. This is not me like trying to dog on the game, and like this isn't something that's going to like tank the score for me at all. But just some examples of the jank. Um, but yeah, sometimes it would, not really let you do it. But also there's no prompt. There's no button that said, hey, hold triangle to do this. Those are just some examples of the jank, right? That being said, guys, to me, that jank is literally just the result of a very small team, people who made a really solid game, right? And they just couldn't plug all the holes in the right. There's gonna be some leaks here and there, but overall, if you take the game as a whole, I found it to be quite satisfying as a Souls-like game. Which, yes, if I didn't say already, this is a Souls-like game. If you die, you get sent back to the last like checkpoint where you were at. Enemies respawn upon you dying or resetting the area, that sort of stuff. But there are some noticeable things that are different than a Souls-like game. And let me tell you guys, some of these creative choices I actually like more than games like Demon Souls, Elden Ring, Bloodborne, and whatnot. I'm not necessarily saying this game is on that same level. However, I think this game does strike a very interesting balance of less is more. And what I mean by that is the game isn't nearly as massive as, let's say, I'll use Elden Ring as an example because that's the freshest in my mind. This game isn't nearly as massive as Elden Ring just world-wise, but it's still pretty solid. A solid size, right? There's not nearly as many like weapons and items and things like that, but a lot of them are meaningful and there's cool ways to kind of customize within the game, which I'll get into a little bit more in a bit. Different kinds of armor, there's different kinds of abilities that all feel pretty unique. Again, it's not, in Elden Ring, you have like, in Elden Ring, you have like 50 sorceries, 50 incantations, 50 long swords, 50, maybe not literally, but you have so many different options. But oftentimes, there's complications. So let's get into that. Let me go to the menu. And going off of that theme of less is kind of more, one thing I really liked about this game, guys, is that there's really only 4 stats: strength, agility, intelligence, and constitution. The nice thing about these is that you can just read what they do. Strength basically just increases how much weight you can carry from your armor and your weapon, as well as it increases your damage, right? So all weapons will scale off of damage from just your strength. It's not like Elden Ring where you have your strength, dex, intelligence, and faith, right? Agility is kind of a god stat. It increases your critical hit chance, your stamina total, how much time passes before you can start recharging your stamina, your movement speed by a little bit, your how fast you can swing your weapon, the draw speed of your bow, and more. Intelligence is kind of like that affects basically like your magic in the game, called flux in this game, and like your total magic meter as well, and the damage of your flux abilities. And then constitution naturally is health, and then increases your stagger resistance as well, right? Why do I like this? Because every level you get 2 points you can spend, so you feel like you can always spend it on 2 of these things. You never feel like anything gets left behind. I kind of dumped the intelligence because I was doing a lot more just boxing, you know what I mean? But what I like about this is that you can use any weapon, and there's a decent variety of weapon. They mostly fall into a couple categories: one-handed, then you have your shields; two-handed, they're kind of like heavier, but they have your heaviest weapons. You got the dual wielding ones. They have bows as well, right? But they all scale off of strength. Why do I like this? Because one of the issues I found in Elden Ring, fantastic game, I love it. I dumped so many hours into it. But one issue that I don't really like about Elden Ring, a critique of mine would be, I don't like how many stats there are. Specifically because you can't just change them with that whenever, right? Yes, you can go to, I forget her name, Renala, whatever her name is, and you can give her larval tears, but there's a finite number of larval tears, at least as far as I found. I know that there's enemies that would drop them, but when I was trying to farm, after a certain point, it just stopped giving them, right? Once I ran out of larval tears, whatever build I had, I was stuck with. So I spent the last one very wisely. The problem is that because there's so many stats, if you build for a strength build and then you find some really cool faith spells and other items, and you're like, man, I kind of want to try out faith, you're kind of screwed. You can't really do that unless you beat the game and then, restart it so that the larval tears reset, or you just grind, or maybe you find a lone larval tear somewhere out there in the world, right? But for the most part, it's like there's a limit, and then you're just stuck with that build. With this game, you can reset your attributes at any time, pretty much, by crafting an item that will reset all of your points. Yes, it is an item you have to craft, but it's very easy to craft. There's no limit to how many you can craft. So I like that. It's very simple. It's very easy. And again, there's only 4 stats. So you don't gotta worry about if you went all in on intelligence in Elden Ring or faith, or for a sort of, or for like a bleed build or something else. There's no really worry like that. So I like that in this game, I can just kind of build my character and not really feel too much like you know, do you ever feel like that, like when you're playing a game, right? That it's like, oh man, there's so much that if I like level up something wrong, I'm gonna like regret it later because I'm like, oh, I could put those points over here instead. Now that I understand the game, you don't got to worry about that in this game. You can pretty much change your stats whenever you want, which I really liked. I think it also opens up more just play styles. If everything scales off of strength, you can use whatever weapons you like the most, and you'll still be getting more damage out of them, and all that good stuff. But yeah, so in that way, I feel like that sort of less is more approach. I really like that in this game. Yeah, that was very satisfying for me. Another thing that I like is the equipment. Now I figured this out, I think in like the second area. As you look at my items, they all have this Mark V on the right hand side, and you see a bunch of different buffs. What I like about this is that this enables you to, one, every time you increase the mark level, the item gets stronger. That goes for weapons too, so weapons can get stronger. It's not nearly as tedious. Again, with that less is more. It's not nearly as tedious as, say, Elden Ring. We had to like go and find all the different smithing stones and all that sort of stuff, or even like the bell bearings that are all scattered across the world. And even if it's not hard because you do it like towards the end game and you just want to collect stuff, it's still tedious. It's kind of annoying. I never really had to grind for any crafting materials to level up my weapons or anything. To like, I naturally got them, right? Yes, there were a couple times when I ran out, but even then I was able to just craft other things to have enough to level things up. So there was never really a point where I was like, oh shoot, like I gotta just go search like 5 dungeons or something to get these bell bearings or equivalent of that. No, you pretty much always had those resources available. Like, no, I couldn't equip or level up every single piece of equipment I found, but the ones that I really liked and maybe a couple others, I could level those up and never really had to worry about it, or level up a couple different weapons, right? But with that, you can attach different buffs to the armor pieces. Sometimes armor pieces will have an ability, like this one has Survivor's Wisdom. I really like this sort of system of leveling it up. It's not too difficult. There is like a limiter on like how quickly you can level things up. You got to find certain items to increase the max level that you can level things up to. And it's all connected to this lady right here. But yeah, similar with the weapons will have different abilities, like how some armor pieces, well, not all weapons, which cost flux. I like that, giving different weapons character, kind of like in like Elden Ring and such. They'll have the special technique that'll cost FP. And then yeah, you can increase the level of it. You can add different abilities to it as well, which I really like. The other thing that I like, guys, is that there's not a crazy amount of items, but a lot of them I can see the value in them. And sometimes, again, in a game as big as Elden Ring, I'm not trying to dish on Elden Ring because I love that game, but a critique of it could be that there's a lot of useless stuff in there, right? Things that you'll never interact with, things that you just don't care about, um, items, weapons, things that just are completely useless, or at least if you don't have a specific build, can be useless, right? If I'm doing a dual wielding sort of style, there's gonna be probably like a couple different, I forgot the name of them, but a couple different items, accessories that I can put on that will be good for that, and then the rest are completely useless. Which again kind of goes into that complexity of having too many stats, too many weapons, too many specific kinds of builds you can do. It kind of alienates a lot of the different items. Whereas I found a lot of the items in this game to be pretty much effective almost no matter what build you have, and it just depends on what sort of build you wanted. And I guess build meaning that no matter what your stats kind of focused on, a lot of these are still generally useful. Um, for example, because strength is the main thing that your stats go off of in terms of damage, you don't gotta worry about like, oh, an item that will give you more like, I don't know, faith or intelligence or dex like in Elden Ring. I can find an item like this, it gives me more health, right? And early in the game, that's pretty nice. I think there's a better version you get, but barring like your upgraded versions or the previous versions, because you can't give us the best version right off top. This is useful. More flex points early on is useful. Um, Reduces the cost of dashes is useful, right? These are like early game ones, right? And then eventually you get even better stuff. So you get more health, you get more flex points. What is this? Um, more attack power, like more health, leech. That's like when you hit somebody, get health back. There's a lot of items where it's like more constitution. A lot of these you could put on, in any combination, and you will get meaningful benefit out of it. That's not the case in a game like Elden Ring. You can put stuff on that if you're just a total like strength build sort of character, and you're not necessarily like trying to use a whole lot of FP, there's items that will give you more, FP that just will be useless, or items that will, give you a bonus off of like bleed. But if you don't have any weapons that deal bleed, completely useless, right? I found that most of these items were pretty much always useful, right? I mean, in the sense of like, if you wanted a specific application from it, it wasn't like your build would bar you from a lot of these, right? Now, obviously, some will be more effective depending on your build. There still is that sort of min maxing that you can do. However, I did feel like a lot of those items were a lot more useful on the average than a game like Elden Ring, where there's so much and so many builds, so many like niches that a lot of them kind of fall by the wayside. Um, you have things like perks that can boost up your character, give you more stat bonuses, or get me more health upon a hit. I can create like an illusion myself during combat to help me fight. I really like this system. There's not a crazy number of them, but again, they're unique, right? Which I liked. So got one for like dueling. There's like one for like dual wielding. Some that pair really well together, like the companions and the illusionist one. This one lets me create that illusion of myself that fights by my side. This one lets me summon multiples at a time, not at the same time, but I can have multiple out. Things like that you can really like, fashion a build around these things. I like that. I like that this game seems to really try to focus on quality, right? The quality of the abilities or the perks. These are the abilities. There's 8 abilities, but if you read them, they're all pretty cool. They all kind of scale off of different stats. Some intelligence, some agility, I think one constitution, right? All of this, none of this, I would say, if you were to just look at it, seems like it'd be crazy in depth. None of it seems like you get like a ton of build options, but I think there's a lot more than you might realize. A lot more combinations because they're all meaningful, right? Because what's the point of having 1,000 options if 950 of them are bad? You know what I mean? Or just noticeably not as good. I feel like in Elden Ring, that's kind of the case at times. It's like there's definitely, if you're going for katanas, these are probably the katanas you want to use, right? And if you're going for like a long sword sort of approach, or for like a sorcery approach or faith approach, typically there's one, two, maybe three items that you're looking at, and then the rest just fall by the wayside. But yeah. So that's just kind of going along that sort of less is more approach. I think that's where this game really shines. If you want I would say a easier Souls-like experience, this one is one of those experiences. You get the feeling of a Souls-like game. You get that sort of slower combat. Having to block and parry. The blocks and the parries are very satisfying to me in this game. Maybe because this is the only game I could ever actually do them in. I'm terrible at them in Elden Ring. Oh yeah, there are some key differences. This is an easier Souls-like game for a couple of reasons. One, you don't really have a currency that also doubles as like your experience, right? You don't have to go up to these checkpoints to level up. It's just when you fight monsters, you get your experience points, and then when you hit that level, you level up. If you die, you don't have to start the level over or anything like that. Nope, it's just a normal sort of EXP progression bonus, or EXP progression, throughout the game. So you don't have to worry about losing your blood echoes or your souls, and is that what they're called? I forget what they're called in Elden Ring. But you don't have to worry about losing any of that, right? Your level progression is safe. You don't gotta worry about losing any sort of like money slash leveling up currency. One thing that I love, that you can climb ledges. Not only that, but we can swim. There's a whole underwater section. But largely, guys, yeah, I had a good time. I liked a lot of the bosses. Some were harder than others. Some were. I will say that maybe they could have been a little bit more interesting. Some I liked more than others. The one at the top, I think you see that red light bouncing off that building up there, kind of like right above my character's head. That's where like the first boss is. That was probably the boss, the point where I started to really, really enjoy the game, because it kind of started to click at that point. They were okay. Some I liked more than others. But I don't think they hit the same satisfactory level as like a Elden Ring or Bloodborne. I would say maybe they fell kind of close to the Demon Souls. Demon Souls was interesting because I like the overall game, but the bosses were surprisingly, I don't want to say easy, but for how I guess like epic and scary they kind of seemed. I feel like the bosses weren't actually like the most stressful part of the game. I really like the consumables. A lot of great consumables. That will give you different meaningful buffs, and that's the thing. You can build so many ways because you also have these consumables that will like boost your stats up for a decent amount of time. So even if my strength is a little lower than my agility, I got these consumables that can like increase my strength by like 5 for like 60 seconds. And an additional 10% my total strength score. So that can kind of make up for it, right? You can have these different consumables that will do different things, increase your armor ratings and stuff like that. I feel like I naturally got all the crafting recipes. I got a trophy for it. That's the only reason why I know. For this. So I know that okay, I can craft whatever I need for like a boss. And yeah, I think that's what like another draw of this game is that it's not necessarily that it's easy, but it's not tedious. And oftentimes I feel like a lot of Souls games are on that line of tedium. You know, I would say part of maybe the experience of a lot of Souls games is that they are kind of meant to be tedious. Die to the same boss 100 times, um, or you have to go to these really obscure places to do these very obscure things, get very niche or specific results. This game was kind of was not kind of was very enjoyable in the way that it wasn't tedious. At time of recording, I played for maybe about like 32 33 hours. I'm basically at the end of the game, which to me, guys, is solid. If I pay $35 for a game and I get 20 30 hours out of it, to me that's huge bang for buck. So yeah, it's a great value of a game, guys. I think if you like Souls games, you will really, really like this one. It's a simpler one. If you never played a Souls game, you want to try one, this one definitely will. I think will be a little bit more friendly towards you. I think that you tough it out for that first hour or two. After that, it gets way more open. You get more abilities. But yeah, guys, my time with this game was very enjoyable. And remember, this is me going from like me being afraid that it was going to be, a regretful purchase potentially. I went from, oh, like 3 people made this game, let's give it a shot, to like thinking like, oh man, like I don't know, like I might not like this. To really, once I got to the second area, I just loved it. I love this game. So time for the official like rating of the game. For my ratings for these, I think I'm going to do kind of like two. I'm going to do like the game from a, I say technical aspect, but that might not be the right term. But technical just meaning like how it played, how was the all the menus, UI, um, was it too janky, buggy, right? All that, just like kind of like the game in that sense. And then the other one is a much more subjective. It's just simply like how fun was it? How much did I enjoy it? Right? How much did it appeal to me? That's gonna be a little bit more of my or subjective one. Like how did it make me feel, but yeah, so these two might differ. And the subjective one is also kind of just for like, hey, if you feel like you're kind of like me as a gamer, then maybe you might lean more towards my sort of just personal sort of score of how much I enjoyed it. Or if, there might be, because I play games where it's like, it wasn't for me, but I could see why other people would really like it. Like something, because the reality is that, like, just because you don't like something doesn't mean it's bad, right? I played games that were very good, it just didn't appeal to me. I played games that just weren't that great, but I really liked. um, so that's just kind of, how I want to break it up to kind of represent those two sides of things, right? Anything above a 7 out of 10 or 7 out of 10 or higher, I enjoyed. I don't regret playing it, and I can recommend. Right. I will say also, this game again was made by 3 people. I can't stress that enough. So I will be grading this on a curve, right? Because I think just what they did with this game was very impressive. Um, and I really enjoyed a lot of the stuff that they did in this game. They showed a lot of really good intention, a lot of good thought. So much of this stuff is just well done. I love these menus and everything. So like the UI, I think works very well. All the stats, abilities, perks. Like I said, I really liked this whole system. So I definitely feel like even though it was simpler, even though this game was less, it really gave you more. It made it everything that was there, I feel like was very satisfying. And so to give it my sort of my technical rating, guys, I'll say without a curve, I would probably give this like a very, very, very solid 7 to like a light 8. Because there are like nitpicky things here and there that I feel like I can't ignore. Like if I kind of look at them in a vacuum, like, oh yeah, some of the bosses are just okay. Or yeah, the beginning was kind of rough, or like they didn't tell you how to do certain things here, certain things there. Um, if I kind of look at just them one at a time, it's like I could see myself rating this game higher. But when I kind of look at all the sort of the jank, all the sort of technical issues here and there, there definitely was a weight, to this game. I kind of brought it down a little bit. But again, I'll say that's without the curve, guys. So at the very minimum, a very extremely solid 8. I mean 7, like 7.8, 7.9, right? But I would probably put it more into like that light 8 category. Um, with the curve, I'll probably give it like a 8.5, right? Because I really do think it's fun. I think it's a good value for the game. I think if you wait a little bit and it goes on sale, I think it's even better, right? Because it is a full game. I remember playing, like, I got to the second area, and I thought I fully explored the second area, just to find out that there's like a whole nother like half to the whole like second area. So it's actually pretty big, this game. I know that there's stuff I missed because after I played like the first like area and explored everything, the second area and explored everything, I was like, oh, this game is actually very sizable. It's very sizable. So I could probably dump in easily like 50 hours into this game, if I really wanted to. Because there's so many other secrets and things. I'm sure that there's probably other bosses I haven't seen yet, that I could fight. But yeah, guys, so that would be my technical Without a curve, I would say like 7.9, practically like a soft like 8, like a soft 8. With the curve, I say like an 8.5. I would say it was probably also um I would say like at times it was like a 9 out of 10 because there was a point where I was like, I got addicted. I was like trying to just play. I was like, oh, I want to see like, what's like what else is there, and like exploration was satisfying because you were constantly finding items and like you were. That's another thing. Like the level design, I really liked. This game had a lot of very satisfying like dead ends that would have an item there. That again was useful, or very nice like consumable item. All around, I say that the overall experience of this game was very enjoyable for me. I had fun. I didn't think I was gonna play another Souls-like game for a while after Shadow of the Erd Tree. In fact, I still need to finish it. That's how like I won't say burnt out, but just kind of like I could put them down. This came along. I really enjoyed it, guys. They're doing so much good stuff in this game, and I can't stress enough. A 3-person team, y'all. This is so impressive. Um, that they pull this off. That the combat and everything feels satisfying to me. Like, come on, man. Like, come on, this is amazing. Overall, this game was like a solid 8 to me, right? Like, so much of it looks so good. Um, yeah, they did their thing. There's some jank, but that's to be expected with such a small team. They can't do everything. But it seems like it was on PC. They brought it to PlayStation 5, so they've been working on it. Um, And yeah, guys, to support them. Because yeah, I had a very good time with this game, and I would love to see them almost do like a remake of this game, um, but with like a larger team and just like overhaul it visually. Because again, it doesn't look bad visually at all. Um, yes, if you look at some of the stuff, like yeah, those aren't 8K textures, but but who cares? Um, the game works well. Um, so yeah, I could see them overhauling it like visually, just taking out some of the jank. I would love to see like a 30 gigabyte version of this game. Because it's like 6.5 gigabytes. Like, come on, like 3-person team, come on, you know what I mean? Like that's amazing. Yeah, guys, this game was a very much a delight. Um, so yeah, that's it, guys. This was a very long, in-depth review. If you want to see me talk about it more, I'm gonna be dropping videos of me playing the game, and I kind of talk about it as I'm playing it, and you'll see me go through different emotions as I play it, guys. But yeah, guys, Bleak Faith Forsaken, great game. Really enjoyed it. Support these small developer guys, because yeah, I think that they deserve it, right? They really did their thing. I think they deserve it. But yeah, guys, with that, that concludes this review. Man, that was way longer than I thought it was going to be. At time of recording, it is about 54 minutes. And yeah, hopefully I can cut it down to closer to 30. But with that, guys, thank you for watching my review of Bleak Faith Forsaken. Yeah, if you end up playing it off of my recommendation and you enjoy it, hey, let me know in the comments below. Let me know what your favorite part of this game is. And with that, guys, I'll see y'all next time. All right, peace.